Okay, so did you have to mentally and spiritually prepare to meet with me today?
Kind of, but I just tried to be a little more loose about it.
Good.
And just, I didn't, well, just now I had to wash my face and comb my hair for you.
Oh, good. Well, you got to take care of yourself before you. You got to make.
I just have to, splash water on my face, okay, it's on.
Let's do this. Awesome. Okay, so where are you at? How are things going? It's been a couple weeks.
Yeah, it's actually, I was just looking at my calendar. It's been 4 weeks since our last session. And, it's been pretty awesome and amazing overall. Just a huge change is, it's like the change is sort of settling in and, kind of trips. I kind of, get, I don't know, with any big change in life, sometimes I'll get my stomach will, get turning and twisting, or I'll even get this little weird rash on my face of big events. Sometimes it'll just freak me out.
Yeah,
and I just kind of
that sounds like anxiety.
It's just huge. I just feel it settling into my body, settling into reality that this is that my life is no longer revolving around my body. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, I kind of would get stuck in my head. I found myself kind of, there was a week or two where I barely saw anybody. I was just kind of not in the mood to be around. I don't know. I just didn't really know how to be, or just adjusting to it all, and just kind of, okay, now what do I do with my life? And I can do anything. What am I going to do? And just kind of trying grappling with it. Not necessarily, not tortured, but just kind of, it's just been intense. Mm-hmm. And then a week or two ago, I finally, had some nice times, went out, we met with my agent, and it went so well. I was kind of having a lot of anxiety about it, mm-hmm. worrying that me and my business partner weren't going to be on the same page, and mm-hmm. I did speak to her a little bit about it, and it was a pretty good conversation. It was a little hard here and there, but anyway, so that kind of went well, and I sort of, as I realized, okay, I can't just sit around being stuck in my head all the time and overanalyzing everything. I need to just get out there and do my thing. So there was that. What made me want to talk to you is that, when I spoke to you exactly a month ago, that morning I had gotten on the scale, and I saw that I'd lost 3 pounds. Mm-hmm. And, I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And, of course, we were like, okay, I can't, I know you have to have complete indifference and mm-hmm. not give a shit and just whatever. So I kind of went about my business. And, my food intake is definitely, it's cut back. It's just naturally,
yeah.
I'm just eating less, a third less, for sure a quarter less,
yeah.
to a third less food. Mm-hmm. And I'm really having fun. I've taken a yoga class. I got back to the spin class. I've been hiking all the time, and it's just been really happiness, and not because it feels good, and just really enjoying and feeling getting a little stronger, just getting around easier and just feeling lighter. Mm-hmm. And so then a couple weeks ago, I get on the scale again, and I've lost 3 more pounds. I was down 6 pounds. And, initially it was sort of I thought it was really cool. Just I was like, wow, that's literally the first time my body's ever gotten to speak for itself. I literally did nothing, and it just did that on its own, and I just thought, I just was kind of touched, finally, it's felt it as its own entity, that it was finally free from my shit.
Yeah, well, and because you've been living in the moment. You've been living in the present of, what do I want to do? Oh, I want to go for a hike. It wasn't, how can I lose weight? I should go for a hike.
Yeah.
Right? So it wasn't future-oriented. You've been living
Yeah,
presently,
just
and the body's handling itself. Yeah, and as long as you continue to not care or have expectations, and it may not lose anything else. It might just be done. Who knows?
Right.
You got to stay present. You got to stay indifferent and not care one way or the other.
I know. Well, I've just definitely, over the last couple weeks started to notice, like, it creeping into my mind a bit. Like, oh, well, and I, like, went to, go through my clothes, and I'm like, well, if I lost 6 pounds in a month, I'm probably going to, let's see. I just started thinking about it.
You start getting excited?
Not getting excited, just going, wait, kind of going, oh, well, this was kind of a trick.
No.
I didn't care about losing weight, and then now I'm going to be losing weight.
So
and I don't want to fucking get rid of all these clothes, and maybe I'm going to fit into them, and...
So stay indifferent and not care.
Your voice is far away.
I said, so stay indifferent and not care. Stay indifferent and just don't expect it. Say, I'll hold on to him. If it happens, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't matter. Do you want to have energy and focus on that?
I don't.
Then don't. That's it. Then you don't expect it. So what you need to go into is that it's not. It isn't going to happen. And don't place any focus on it. The only reason why it would be hard to not put focus on it is if you have something attached to it. You've attached to it. Like there's meaning to it, and that meaning is important to you. So you have to question if you're having a hard time letting it go, why it has meaning, what meaning does it have, and why is it important? And is it important enough that you're willing to lose your freedom? Because that's what's about to happen.
Yeah.
Because the freedom to not care.
I mean, the euphoric, like, it's already...
It's gone.
And I've kind of noticed...
That'll happen.
That the exact... That it's perfectly balanced. So the exact amount that it even matters to me is the exact amount where I've noticed a slight change around food. It's perfectly balanced.
Isn't that amazing? The amount of shame you carry, it all projects into food. It's the amount of stress you have with food. It is exactly the same. It's like because it's projected, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing to me. It's fascinating.
It is. I mean, I've been kind of fascinated by it. Just, in just the smallest ways where I'll be like, and I try to, like, robin myself. And first of all, when I first started noticing it, my knee-jerk reaction was to get upset and, it's over, I fucked up my recovery. And then I was like, chill. The only reason you would be feeling that way is if you're holding yourself to the standard of perfection, that you have to be this perfect recovered person. Like,
totally.
Relax.
Yeah, and you're not giving yourself the grace of understanding, or you're expecting the perfect recovery without actually understanding what it's going to take. And so think of it that way. You think you have an idea of what that is.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you really know what that is? What a perfect recovery is? Because if you
just that initial high was, like, insane.
Yes.
It was just
that
like,
doesn't
what
mean
the
that.
Hell is this?
So recovery it's permanent. It's like the illusion is now known as a lie. So what this tells me is the illusion still is true to you. Right? And I've seen this so many times, and this is to me part of the process when someone says, I'm fully recovered, and they haven't yet.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to, and take pride in that recovery. Remember, there was something you said last time we talked about catching yourself judging other people about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a sign right there, because you've inflated it and taken pride to it. So you're using it as a survival weapon, which means you haven't really pushed through totally. So, and that's understandable. It takes kind of regression backwards for you to recognize that, to go, oh, I really do have to stay humble. I really do have to give not just myself grace to understand that I can't be more than I truly am. I can pretend I am, I can think I am, but the truth is that I am what I really am. So you learn to avoid thinking otherwise. Do not pretend you're better than you are. I like to use my book writing as an example, right? I truly do not feel I'm an expert. I feel like I have a very specific understanding, which is coming from my perspective, and it's wrong. Everything I'm saying is wrong relative to someone else's perspective. So when it comes to writing this book, I am very well aware it's not going to be liked. So I have nothing to gain egotistically from it. So keep the ego or the survival aspect out of it. So there's something you might want to gain from it that might be attached to pride.
Or I just hate feeling the separation between me and these people that are so close to me that I've always felt so comfortable with. And like,
pause. You know what you just said? That separation comes from the ego. I need you to know that. Why would you feel separated from them if you can see that you're the same as them, figuring shit out? Why is there a separation? Is it because you're better than them? You improved beyond them?
Because I know more now or something than them.
Exactly. Do you hear that? Do you hear it? So that separation comes from your fucking ego.
Or it's just like, come on, guys, like, the water's nice, come on in, like,
but
they swim together, like, let's just, like, ugh.
Yeah, and that maybe what you need to realize is that you don't need to, why can't you get along with everybody? Why does everybody have to be the same? Do we all need to be the same religion? And do we need to make this into a religion? Because I certainly don't want it to be that. It's really just do what's right for you. And you know what? If they want to be thin and they believe in thin supremacy, they should do that. They should seek what to them, with their current awareness, feels like the right thing to do. That's what I'm doing. Based on your current awareness, you're making a decision that's right for you. Why does everybody else have to do what's right for you right now based on your awareness? Can't you just let people be where they're at?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I guess that's just like a huge change. It's just a huge change to feel like soul sisters, with a best friend, and all of a sudden there's just this, it just feels
superficial.
There's just not that same, like, I don't feel as, like, inspired, or it's like, I'm just sort of like...
Okay, so that tells me that the relationship you had before was superficial. It was very, it wasn't heart to heart. That there was something you were getting out of it versus getting care for the person. I was actually trying to explain this to a client the other day about a relationship she had, that what are you getting out of this relationship? So there might be something self-serving in that. There's some idea that you thought you were getting. There's some like persona, magic, some cartoon character, something you were getting out of it that was very, sentimental, or what's the word? Glamorized. You glamorize this. A lot of people get married for the glamorized idea of what it is. And
it's very codependent, I know that.
Yeah. So it's based... Okay, it's based on a fantasy. So, when you do come out of that, it comes at a high cost, and it's really hard to engage with people that are that way, because it's dangerous. You're putting yourself in harm's way to get attacked, because if you don't save or rescue them the proper way, they're going to feel victimized by you. Yeah. So this is kind of like binging for me. When I recovered, it was like I had a moment of loss around the excitement around a binge. I knew I didn't really want to do it, but I did get something out of it. It was fun. It was exhilarating. It was like saying fuck you to everybody in my own head, saying fuck you to all the diets. the restriction. It was a moment of liberation, you know, and so I had to grieve that distorted, messed up extravaganza because it came at such a high cost. I'd rather never have it again, you know. And so when it comes to relationships like that, it's not really that person that you care or missed. It's what you got out of the relationship. So when you actually love someone, okay, let's just go into what love is. It's not sentimental. It's an actual commitment to the well-being or to want and care for the well-being of someone else. It doesn't mean you are the well-being of that person. It means that you truly wish for the best well-being of the person that you're with. So it's not necessarily about what you get out of the relationship. It's really about loving that person unconditionally. You know, it's like when if my son Wyatt goes to jail for whatever reason, I will go visit him every day. So I truly care about him. I truly care about him. If Mark were to cheat on me and tell me I'm in love with another woman, I would reconcile the loss of the relationship, but I would always care about him. I really love my husband, separate from our marriage. I love him as a person. I care about him, right? So you really have to question then what you're actually grieving right now in those relationships. What are you really grieving? Is it the person, or is it the high you got from the narcissism? The grandiosity of what type of weird persona you wanted to create publicly. I mean, what was it? You just need to figure that out so that you can let it go. Because was it really worth it? You can go back to that. It's kind of like, what did you get out of your last, intimate relationship? What are you getting out of that? I mean, you have to consider how you transferred that to probably a lot of relationships, not just that one. That's how you related to people. So it's the loss of the fantasy more than the loss of the person, because when you're in that state of mind, it's all self-serving. You know, anybody in survival mode or is in those lower states of consciousness, it's all about my preservation. What do I need to be happy? I need you to be happy. I need you to be a certain way to be happy. I gotta shut the window. Go. You know? So do you see why you're saying, I just feel like I've changed the way I am, therefore they should change the way they are? Either that or... Because
you're just finding a new way to be together, you know, just finding a new way that even if it's, that it's just different. It might, well,
why can't you just appreciate them for who they are? Why do they got to be a certain way?
Yeah, which I kind of, I realized that I was just getting stuck in my head a lot and just focusing on, maybe some negative shit or something, or just the hard parts or whatever. And then I sort of, got around, these people, a couple friends, and I was just, able to just, laugh and have a nice time, and I was just, chill, give them a chance to be the whole person they are. Don't just focus on this one part of them that you wish could be like you.
Well, and
I wish they could drink the Kool-Aid and wake up and just be like, oh, God. So instead of you hearing, oh, my beach body isn't ready, and I'm just like, what? What do you mean?
When you hear that, you need to let them, they think that beach body is fabulous. And they have that attached fantasy of how happy it's going to make them.
Yeah.
And you're going to sit there and tell them they shouldn't do that?
No, I'm just like, my body's beach ready. Why is our bodies but the beach is not the waves?
Well,
I know, but
I know.
I would be so embarrassed to go. No, I just can't go until I, blah 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 blah.
Okay, well then go by yourself. You don't need to go with them.
Exactly.
And you have to let them isolate themselves. You have to let them go through the process to figure out, is it really worth it? And they'll figure that out. You have to let them have their own process. You had to suffer quite intensely.
Yeah.
To finally get help and to listen to what I've been telling you to do, which is really hard. It goes against what you've been brainwashed to believe. So imagine what it took for you to do this.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I know.
So why isn't it forgivable for someone else who isn't quite that bad yet? For them to keep on reaching and chasing a mirage, they think that mirage is real. Why can't you go, you go, girl? Go ahead. You know, I've started training again. I have this one woman who is like, will this exercise help tighten up this area? You know, get rid of this. And I was like, no, but it'll make it that area stronger. I just ignored it, but I don't need to judge her.
Yeah.
I'm not enabling it or placating it or adding to it, but I'm not going to tell her she's wrong or what are you talking about? Why can't you just love your arm? What are you, ungrateful little bitch? You know, I talk this way to the people who pay me to get them out of their fucking misery.
Yeah.
Not everybody is there. And so it would be wrong for me to push that on to people who aren't there.
Yeah, and it's not like I'm as perfect. I'm still the one over here, you know, getting on the scale and being interested on if I've lost weight or not.
I know. I have that on my notes. Still actually weighing herself. Getting on scale. Talked about that at 4 minutes and 30 seconds. You know, and that's all a sign that you're still holding on. There's still hope.
Well, it just threw me, you know, like then I was sort of like,
Same thing.
I don't want to lose weight. I'm comfortable in accepting this weight at this size. That gives me 100% like comfort. I'm fine. Like I've got it all figured out at this exact weight. Like I can handle it. Like I'm getting the spot. Like who fucking cares how much fat? Like I can get around easier than I realized. My ankle is doable. When I feel the physicality, I'm like, I don't fucking even care anymore. Like, I'm like, this is great. And then all of a sudden, it was like a record scratching. Like, what? What the fuck? I'm losing weight?
Well, that's that fourth point of recovery.
And I was like, out of all the times I was, you know, you'd be screaming at me, never, you're never going to accept it. And then it's me going, but this is a trick. You know, if I don't want it, then I'll get it. And you're like, well, there's no guarantee, but you're just, you know, what are the chances you're going to lose weight? I'm like, 0. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I knew it.
Well, the part about it is once you let go, so that was your third point of recovery. The first point is letting go of the thinner ideology permanently forever. You accept that you're going to be the same weight as you are. You accept that you will potentially, the body naturally might gain more weight. The fourth point is you have to remain indifferent and unattached to losing weight. If you're not, you will go right back into the cycle. And you might have to go through a cycle again. You know, anytime you're not willfully and humbly accepting and allowing this process, you will go through a cycle. You'll go through another bout of overconsumption. That will put pressure on you to underconsume, and there you have it. And then you're going to overconsume again, and you're going to regain the weight, and then you're going to be in this position again. I have to not care either way, whether I gain or lose.
I didn't really, you know, I guess I was sort of looking at that step and just trying to ignore it. I was sort of like, oh, if I...
Well, here's the downside.
If I start losing, it'll be... Well, that won't be a problem. I'll just kind of pretend I don't care.
Well, tell me how that's worked out, pretending you don't care. It's pretending. Remember when I said you're not telling... It's a matter of telling the truth. You need to tell the truth to yourself. Don't avoid it. Don't repress it. You have to be openly telling yourself the truth at all times. That is the most direct route to that recovery. So
yeah, I do feel like I realize the value in that. Like I'll just, I'll be like, you know, I'll go to, if I eat something, you know, I'll go and I'll be like, oh, I'll catch myself going, oh, I don't really need olives on that. That just adds a bunch of extra. And I'll be like, look who's dieting. You know, like I'll stop and I'll just go, and then I'll just try not, you know, I'll just say, who fucking cares? Just go, move forward. Don't beat yourself up about it. Just be aware of what the truth is and what happens.
You got to eat truly what you want and allow the body to tell you when to eat and when not to eat. So if you put olives on it, the body's going to adjust. The pleasure center is going to be happier. And your hunger may go away like a bite sooner. Who knows? But do you really want to think about it?
I don't, because there have been, I've overeaten a few times, I've definitely caught myself overeating, and then I'll just, as I'm overeating, I'll be like, this is interesting, I'm overeating right now, what's happening?
Well, the dialogue started earlier. If you listen to it, there was dialogue earlier. You don't just overeat mindlessly. There's always dialogue about it going on.
Mm-hmm.
So you just maybe didn't catch the dialogue ahead of time. You caught it afterwards. So if you look at it, you'll go, oh, you were negotiating for it. Yeah, well, I worked out. I've been more active. Well, if I just do that. And not only that, but underneath it all is this thing you're repressing that is really getting off on the weight loss you're experiencing. Don't repress that. You got to let the truth come up. And I'm not judging it. You have to witness the truth of this belief system.
Yeah.
How big it is it in you? The belief system sucks. But if it's in there, you're gonna suffer more. If you acknowledge it, if you allow that to come up, then we can address it. If you're repressing the reality that you still believe that being thinner has benefits for you that are worth it, then you're going to have issues with food. So you're sitting there in your minds repressing that excitement about weight loss because you're judging that excitement. And then you're all the while starting to have the truth of that excitement is projecting into food issues. So you're like, no, I don't believe in thin supremacy, even though you're starting to overeat. So what's the truth? I clearly do, And to repress it is basically prolonging this process for you, which is fine. To me, that's not a big deal either. However this takes, whatever karma you got to serve, whatever knowledge you need to gain, if you allow it to come up, maybe repressing that is allowing you to learn right now, There is no right or wrong way to do this. There is no right or wrong way to do this. You're just doing it,
Yeah.
And so the best thing I can do out here is to help you see the blocks.
Yeah.
The fourth point of recovery is that you are indifferent and unattached and you don't care if you lose weight. Why would that be so important?
Well, I'm experiencing it, that's for sure. It's just...
Do you feel that it would be important if you want to remain in that level of high, that level of consciousness, that you really need to stay open-minded and not attached to your body?
Yeah, I mean, there was that, when I first, noticed I was losing and stuff, I was like, I could connect the feeling of losing to the feeling of gaining, which is like indifferent to gaining.
Yeah, and you got it.
So that would make me, I would go, oh, okay, like that would get me back on track. I'd be like, what happened if you gained 10 pounds right now? I'm like, I don't give two shits. And then I'd be like, okay, well, if you lost 10 pounds, I don't give two shits. And then but it wasn't, I couldn't make it stick,
Well,
like
that's because you still attach the belief that life would be better. So you would have to recognize that life doesn't change whether the body that you're in is fat, small, short, black, white, 95 years old. You have to come to the awareness that you are not the body or limited by it. If you're conscious, you have what you need. So that's a big step. That is a big step.
I can feel that it's a big step, and I kind of was trying to guide myself through it, and like writing down, like, what do you think, what is going to change? What would Robin say right now? And like, what is there even, and I am so repulsed by thin supremacy, and that it's just,
well,
anyway, that's why I was just
let's forgive it.
Call Robin. I want to be like, I can't just go running to Robin every time. I have to.
Yeah, but you are kind of in a process of this recovery, and if you're finding that you're starting to go back down, and you're not sure why, or you're sure why, but you don't know how to resolve it, well, then that's where I can come in and help you.
Yeah. So I was like, there's no, yeah.
There's just a little shortcut.
Yeah, and it's not like I'm, whatever. I was just like, yeah, you're there for a reason, and I could feel that that I could use, that I needed some help.
So I think what you need to go into is this idea that being thinner would make your life better. So,
Yeah.
so to do that, you have to ask yourself, what is life about? You have to really look at what is life about? I don't care if you have an answer or not, but you have to really understand what life is about. I take that back because I don't understand what life's about. I do feel that, and I have since I recovered, that life and being aware and witnessing whatever life brings to me is what I'm here for.
Yeah.
So what do I really need from the body? What conditions do I want to demand from the body? One of the ways I thought about this was in reincarnation. I was never taught about reincarnation. I never really I knew it until I had that out-of-body experience, and I was thinking about the potential that I could get born again.
Mm-hmm.
I remember thinking, I wouldn't want this to happen again. How do I want to relate to the next body? How do I want to relate to it? How do I want to feel about the body that I'm going to be born into? That I'm going to be attached to for that life that it gives me? Do I really want to be dependent on the condition of it? Do I really want the condition of that body to be what my experience is focused on?
Yeah, no.
That was, for me, was like, hell no, because that's essentially what I've been held hostage to. It's an obsession and a fixation on the condition of my body. And all the work that it takes to maintain a certain condition. So if I care about the condition of the next body, I'm basically repeating myself.
Yeah.
And so that's where you're still struggling. You do care about the condition of your body. And the condition of it can be defined by what is a concept of health, a concept of fitness, a concept of beauty, a concept of attraction, a concept of sexuality, a concept of... There's so many concepts that we've all been brainwashed by.
Mm-hmm.
Me too. Because we're humans, and that's just the way it rolls. We adapt to our environment. It's survival, and so it makes sense that we would need to adapt to what our tribe says makes you valuable. If you want to be valued by your tribe, you got to get to the point where you can acclimate, but you see past the superficiality of it. That it's actually the most important, the most threatened in survival. It's very superficial. Can you see why someone who's an extreme threat would care so much about the physicality of people?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad that someone would be in such a low state of living. They're in that type of threat in their human nature that they are micromanaging how people look. So when it comes to you surrendering this, you have to really question, first of all, why it's become important to you. Do you really, what's worse, being seen as inferior in your culture, or being alone? On top of that, are you willing to be seen as superior by your culture if it requires the insanity you've lived in? Did you follow that? Because I've confused myself. I swear to God, I'm confused.
Well, I'm slightly distracted over here because I don't know if you can hear the gardeners.
No, I can't hear anything.
They just rolled up with their 747s, but I
yeah.
just crawled into in my bedroom in the farthest corner.
I can't hear it. I can't hear anything. Yeah, there's nothing.
My ears.
I'm gonna try to say that again. Let me see if I can repeat that because
something about being superior.
I don't know. You'll have to rewind that. It's a 30 minutes, 34 minutes or so. I don't know.
Which is worse, to be seen inferior or to be alone? Which is worse?
Yeah, well, to be alone and free or to be...
I know I'd rather be seen inferior. I'd rather... Aren't they the same? I'd rather be alone.
Which one's worse? So some people would say, I'd rather be... being seen as inferior is worse. So they're not... Okay. So they're... Because, well, they are the same. Being alone, to me, is much better.
Yeah.
I don't care. Well, I don't care. I'd rather be alone. Yeah, maybe that's what confused me. That's what confused me. See? I'm all over the place. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know why anybody listens to me.
Well, to me, I'm just surprised that, I thought absolutely that it would be more difficult to accept my current size, which, I guess it was. That was obviously hell on earth, to accept fatness and to be seen as inferior by everybody. That was hell on earth. To accept that, I just thought that losing weight would just be a walk in the park, or I didn't realize, I just didn't, I don't know, I guess I've just been doing this one step at a time, I guess, and I just kind of thought that would be fine, but then, that I could handle it, oh, who cares if I'll start to, but then it's when it starts to happen, it's sort of, it's hard to not be interested a little bit.
And there's an if to that.
The minute I'm interested, then it takes.
Okay, I need you to stop.
Stop.
So it's your interest in it is because you still believe that there's something that it's going to provide you. So you still have that belief system. You might have accepted the failure and the loss of your weight. You might have said, I'm white flag, I failed, I suck, I'm okay with it. I'm forgiving myself for being such a failure. You still think you're a failure, though. So there is still the belief system back there. You've just given yourself the grace from that belief system, which is huge. It's huge, and it really improves.
I was sort of thinking, I'm going to actually have it all.
I'm going to succeed. Okay, see, that right there means that you actually believe in thin supremacy, that there is a superiority in it.
Or it's just I accepted lumbering around, but wow, maybe I'm going to end up not having, maybe it's going to be easier to get around physically after all.
You still have the attachment that that's important, either direction. So now you can see it. Oh,
yeah.
I never really got rid of the belief system. I just said, well, I accept that I have failed this and I'm releasing myself from it. You still hold on to the belief, however. That means that if I lost weight, I would really like it. Right? This is common, okay?
Well, I accepted never ever losing weight, though.
Yeah, but you didn't surrender the belief that being thinner is better.
I thought that I did.
No, you clearly haven't, right? And so you still believe it.
Can't you believe it in lesser degrees?
Well, you tell me. Sure.
I certainly feel like I believe it in lesser degrees.
Sure. How's that working out? Is that really helping?
It's not working out.
You have to question why you would believe something like that. It's an illusion. So if you rewind this, you're going to hear me previously say you're believing it's still true, even though it's a mirage. It's a mirage, and you still think it's real. And so that's why. So when someone becomes aware, oh my God, it's dumb. I don't want to diminish it. I want to make it inferior, criticize it, but it's it's fake. It's a lie. It doesn't exist. Why would you devote even another second towards it?
Oh God! I know what you're saying.
It's a figment
if
of your
this shit
imagination.
starts melting off of me, it's gonna be fucked. That's all. I mean, I just don't know what to.
Say that again.
Like, if this shit starts melting off of me, this weight just starts melting off of me. I don't know how I'm gonna keep my equilibrium.
Okay, it's not, because you're stuck in it still. How is it gonna happen when you still have this issue? Have you ever had that? Because it's not.
Well, it already stopped.
Well, of course.
Which I consciously was like, let's just eat a little more so that I won't lose, so then I'll stay in recovery. I was actually having those kind of twisted thoughts.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you're making fun of yourself. That's good. It's true. You know, you really have to question, do I really want to devote my life to my weight? Because you're still devoting it to it.
Yeah.
Do I really want the weight of the body I'm in, the size of the body I'm in, to be important? Is it really important? Go back to what I was telling you about my awareness. And I was like, if I reincarnate, do I really want to have demands for the body I'm in? Because what that means is I'm taking my life's ability to witness life, and I'm not going to witness life at all. I got to witness the body I'm in, make sure it's a certain condition. Even if I say I just want arms and legs, that's a condition. Because what happens in life is, it's infinite. Its potential to lose an arm and a leg is really actually realistic.
Yeah, it exists.
Yeah, I know. So why would I?
Any time you leave my apartment, anything.
Yeah. So any condition that you don't want and you end up having is basically putting your whole life on hold, if not completely stopping it. Right? Because your whole mind is fixated now on either fixing it, feeling sorry for yourself, hiding it. I mean, your whole life is hijacked. So all this infinite space of connection to nature and life and people and just allowing things to be as they are is completely blocked off, and you go back into hoarding and hiding and scratching at the surface, right? As a lower human, in a lower state of survival. It sucks.
And I could literally feel my consciousness, go down several degrees.
Good.
I literally felt it. I was like, oh.
Well, because you decided it wasn't worth it. I'd rather be thin. That's worth it. And there you go. You get what you want. You got what you wanted. Thinness. Which one's better? You can honestly say, if you think thinness is better, then be truthful about it, because at least you'll lower your expectations for this process for you. You won't hold yourself to some idea of recovery when, in fact, you're going the other direction. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. You should do what you think is the right thing to do. I believe that. And maybe you're not karmically ready to recover. We're forcing something you're not ready for, and that's okay too. You just need to keep on suffering a little bit. Some people really do, because they think that there's something they're going to get out of it. There's something positive they're chasing. There's so much wisdom that comes from that process. Why would you take that away? Why would I take that away from you? Suffer. I have another client who I just put on a nice diet. She's super pumped.
I don't want to go on a diet. No, I feel the changes are too. I mean, the mountain has moved deep within. There's been a deep shift. I can't even go back if I would try.
So I know. Okay, so that's good. So that's a good sign. But you can see you can go back what you haven't really gained. You haven't really shifted in one area, and so how do you say I can't go back in areas that you are still back?
Yeah. And
so what I'm saying is, this area you never really fixed to begin with. I'm not saying that you haven't shifted big time, had courage. You've had huge courage, given yourself grace, forgiven yourself for a lot of bullshit. You've done huge, huge work, massive amounts of work in this short period of time. Some people don't do this in a lifetime because they're too prideful. They'll wait till they die to say, I love you. Shit like that.
Yeah.
Full generations that are like this. And you're making huge progress. So there's a lot for you to be feeling solid in. But when it comes to you believing the mirage that thinnerness equates to betterness, you still believe it. You have not surrendered that. So you haven't regressed. You're just in the same place. The consequences are showing up now. So I want you to think of it that way.
They feel even more, it's even more noticeable how, out of place they are.
Yeah.
In this new climate, like, it's sort of like, what? Whereas before, I wouldn't even notice it, or it's just, that's why anyway, it's just bothering me, it's just bothering me.
Good.
I don't want any of it.
All right, that's a good sign, right? That at least it's bothering you.
Yeah, it's like nitpicking at me, it's just.
I'll take it.
Yesterday I started to try to go through my clothes and realized literally 80% of my wardrobe, my drawers are stuffed with all these clothes I can't wear. And I started, like, putting them in bags, and then I just went, and I just threw a really cute pair of khakis from the Gap that have the tags on them still, but I just threw it across the room.
That is hard.
And I was, like, kind of had a little fit.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I like these fucking pants. And then I'm like, Kristen, you can go, Gap khaki pants aren't, like, you can find them on this planet, like, relax, you can just buy, like, and just see it as recycling in general, just, like, chill, just, you haven't worn this stuff in years, recycle it, let someone else wear it, and if the day comes, you just buy new, or buy a bit, like, I try to work myself through it, but it's just there, and I just fucking want it out of me. Okay,
well, let's do it. You need to surrender to I'm going to ask the question. How much do you want to devote your life to your size and weight?
0.
So how much of your life should you put on the expectation of weight loss, or even the condition of it in any direction? Weight loss, weight gain, regain. I mean, you have to really be indifferent. It's like, if I paint my nails or don't paint my nails. You have to get to the point where you really just don't care. You don't care. If you don't care, then what happens?
Then my freedom comes back, and my consciousness gets kicked back up.
Yeah, go into being blind.
Go into being blind?
Yeah, if you were blind, how much would we be having this conversation?
Yeah, no, we wouldn't be. I'd be trying to figure out how to get around.
Well, you'd be way, way in bliss. You'd be freaking blissed out right now in your consciousness.
Yeah. I mean, what do I think is even gonna be different? Like, that's what
you probably are attaching success to it. You're attaching some type of proof. It's proof. There's meaning, so that's what you need to question. What is this? What's the meaning? What does this symbolize to me that is so important? Why is it so important? That I'm willing to sacrifice the freedom for it, because you've decided the weight, being thinner and losing this weight is more important than your freedom.
I don't know. I guess I just felt a little feeling of, like, a pride.
Yeah, there it is.
Like, I feel a little pride. Like, look at me. I did it all. I recovered. I'm free. And now I'm thinner, or I'm, like, lighter. I'm, like, so obviously what I'm doing has worked. I don't know. That sounds so gross. But
well, it's like the narcissism saying, I'm better than you. So what you're doing is you're attaching your success to thinnerness. Is it?
A little bit, I guess, yeah. That's...
Yeah, and you've got to recognize, well, what is the success then? What is real success? Is thinnerness really success? Is it? Question that dogma. Is being thinner truly success if it requires your narcissistic, self-righteous, self-promoting, diminishing of others? Is it truly successful if it means that you are miserable?
No.
Do you really want to be focused in on yourself all the time? What happens when you push out of survival mode is there's no point to focusing on yourself. You're focusing on what you're experiencing. It's not about me. It's about what I'm experiencing.
That's true. That is still very
clear to you. Yeah.
It's very focusing. I just feel like
me.
Yeah, that narcissism, I guess. I can feel it a little bit.
Yeah, so you need to, I think you need to get baptized, dearie. You need to, like, start over. Bam. Yeah. You're still bringing back past shit into this. I'm just feeling the essence of what I'm hearing, so that's where that came from, is the essence of what I'm saying is that you're still holding on to those your past. And you know what? Do you really want your past to be influencing your current reality?
No.
So let it go. Let it die. Commit suicide to it. Bury it. You wouldn't hold on to this belief system if given another chance. Go into reincarnation. There is such beauty that comes from death. Given the opportunity to die, for me, was the best thing that's ever happened to me. Everything I learned in those moments is what I'm trying to teach you and everybody else that's listening to these videos.
Yeah.
That's where this came to me. It was in a moment of total humility and the willingness to die. Not because I just wanted to die. It was because I was so miserable fixating on the body that wasn't worth living anymore. There was no life. There was no freedom. There was no space. There was no reality. All I had was this kind of cannibalizing in towards me concept that was just wasn't worth it. Wasn't worth anything. It was worth dying. And so when I went into dying, and I had to grieve what a waste that life was, what a waste that precious soul was, and what a waste this existence was. Such a waste. How much longer do you want to waste your experience here on your self-centeredism around your weight?
Yeah.
Is it really important that you lost you? Don't forget, it's you that's attaching to it. 3 pounds. It's really the body's shit going up and down, up and down, up and down in a day. Is it really you that needs to attach to it? Is it your success? Or is it just the body functioning better without you?
Yeah.
Why do you need to attach to it? Why do you need to take claim over it? Hi guys, it's me. I'm succeeding. I told you so. Look, there's proof. I'm so happy now that I'm thinner in my recovery.
It really is the humility that's the doorway to that bliss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is.
That humility, and then just taking attention off self, just losing that self-centeredness is like the most powerful part of this for me. That's where it's just
you got
when it comes creeping back, and it's like
you wanted it. So you have to question: do you really want people's respect or approval or friendship or or whatever it is? Do you want it if it's attached to your weight loss? To some condition of the body? Do you really want connection to others based on the body?
No.
Neither do I, so I rejected it. I would rather be morbidly obese than to be thin and accepted. Thin and approved of. Fit and liked. I don't want it. So, when people throw out compliments, it's just like, thanks. It doesn't come in. I don't even let it go here. It's like, why would you do that unless you want to suffer again? I don't want to feel better than others. I don't want to feel that. That's a gross feeling to me because it came with so much darkness,
Yeah.
It's a fantasy to think that this idea of being better than others is great. It's horrible. Oh, they're wonderful. No, don't do that to yourself.
Or just to have anybody be impressed by you, or to
yeah, I don't want it.
By me.
I don't want it. Yeah, you got to reject it. I don't, even if they are, because you're who you are, or you're whatever it is. Do you really want that? Do you really want that? Because you know what it does? It takes all the freedom of truth about you, and it shoves it into a dark hole that can't exist. Because you got to be whatever it is that gets people's approval. Do you really need to inflate your worth? And what's that a sign of?
Narcissism.
Well, it's a sign you don't really feel worthwhile at the core. You really don't feel worthwhile. So that's where this is stemming from, is you still do not feel that you are really worthy. And remember when I said to you, you've accepted your weight, you've given yourself grace, but you still feel deep down that you're a piece of shit loser. I'm a quitter, I quit. And you're obviously, the benefit of you quitting has been wonderful, and you don't need to negotiate or argue for that at this point, because you're very aware of the misery involved in what you were doing. And so you've given yourself grace from that, but you certainly haven't forgiven the idea that you are a failure.
Well, I still feel like I'm floating in space, like I'm still not sure what I am, so I think I'm just more vulnerable to getting dragged back down a little, or like I still,
Well,
but I mean, great things, I'm trying to figure out, like I'm just called about taking a computer class and getting some more computer skills, and that feels good for, like, the future if I need to get a job, and, like,
okay, I just want you to know something. I want you to know something.
What?
You had said, I still don't know who I am. And that's keeps me vulnerable to being dragged down.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know who I am, and it's been 20 years, and I would never get pulled down. Why do I need to know who I am? And are you looking at some superficial new brainwashing to identify by?
Yeah.
So I'm just saying. What am
I gonna do? D-O.
Oh, well, you do what brings you joy. Do you know that, or does it just spontaneously occur when joy shows up?
Well, I still have, like, a future to worry about, and I don't have savings, and I don't know,
okay.
I still need to, express myself creatively, and how does that work? There's, like, so many unanswered, kind of daunting, I still have all my, like, now I have all the shit that I never really dealt with, because I was so busy, distracted about my body, and now that's kind of dwindling, and now I'm still, like, now I have Kristen's life,
Yeah. Well, so what I just heard is anxiety, fear, doom, gloom. Yeah. I can't handle it. Bad. So that's the overall level of consciousness. That's where you're at, which is in survival mode, right?
Or just, I guess.
Okay, that's okay.
Like, how am I going to give this life meaning? I have to do something with it.
You don't. Why can't you just enjoy it? Just let it blossom. Why can't you just let it occur? Why can't you just let it be spontaneous? Why does it have to be, part of it, your desire to control or to reach is because you do feel bad. You do feel lacking. You do feel a sense of fear. Where is that fear coming from? Can you see why? And I like that you actually kind of connected those dots there, that I got rid of what I was fixated on, and underneath it is this reality. So you could say all this fear, you were thinking that the weapon of being thinner would actually get rid of it. And so it would make sense then if you still believe that you are incapable. So when you look at the human response to fear and what brings fear fear about. It's an absolute information about our environment. And that's one part, like, oh, there's a bear and I'm definitely going to die. So, right, there's an environmental perception, but there's also an internal perception about our capacity. So, okay, I can see that I have to write this book, and this feels daunting. It feels heavy. It feels overwhelming. And then internally, my question is, can I handle that? You see how there's two parts. It's not just one part. Can I handle it?
Yeah.
So you might have two parts. There's a bear, and I can't handle it. So there's failure, and I can't handle it.
Or, a bear is coming, and I'm not going to be able to handle it.
Yes, you just agreed with me. So when I say there's failure, it doesn't have to be a bear. It can be I'm going to lose my job. There's failure. Okay, I'm going to have to file bankruptcy. There's a belief in failure there, right? The next question is, and can I handle it? Right? Because don't you agree? A bear equates to failure. I'm going to die. Failure. I'm going to be 500 pounds. Equates to some people as failure. Can I handle it? Even if it equates to failure, if you can handle it, what happens to fear? Goes away. It goes away.
I think there's a lot of things I'm afraid I can't handle.
Yeah, and that's where you need to go. So this whole conversation, as much as we're talking about why you're holding on to this thinness, this idea, or why you still believe in that fantasy, well, it would make sense if you still believe in the illusion that you suck and can't handle things. You need to pull yourself up into courage around, can I handle failure? Can I handle bankruptcy? Can I handle a job loss? Can I handle people thinking I suck?
Or just, can I handle, what comes? What's coming from, losing my mom, which is, she's 80 now, and I'm facing, I live in fear of that a lot. But she's in perfect, incredible health.
Yeah. Okay. So because, the reason why you would live in fear of it, again, even though she's imperfect, is because you don't think you can handle it. So I believe the next step of this process with you is going into, instead of making those assumptions and avoiding the answer, we need to go into the answers.